Okay, so in this video I'm going to explain the major beginner mistakes that I see that are costing you gains, that are costing some of my friends even gains, that have costed me personally gains, and that's why I wanted to tell you, because the sooner you overcome this, the better. So I want you also to understand before we begin that as a beginner you can afford to mess some of these things up. So don't worry, because most of the things that you might be doing wrong are fixable and reversible. Unless your dumbass is injuring himself in the gym constantly, or unless you've had a major accident and you broke your spine during deadlifts, everything else I think is fine. Like with your nutrition, with your lifting, I think everything else can be fixed to improve your physique. With that being said, let's first get into it. So my first mistake was not tracking my lifts. You just have to do it, because first off, you don't remember your lifts. If I ask you right here, right now, you probably remember how much you bench, how much you squat, and that's it. But that's the point, because think it like this: at the end of your workout, or not even at the end, just in the middle of your workout, some exercises will feel harder than usual. Okay, so let's say for arms, let's say you're doing curls. Okay, you just grab a dumbbell, you say to yourself that, oh, it feels heavy, that's the weight I'll do, and I'll do it for 10 reps, for example, while you went for 10 reps for the last time that you did this weight. And progressive overload tells us that you need to get stronger over time for the muscle to grow. But since you feel like it's hard, you're going to push yourself, but you're not going to push yourself more than last time. Why? Because you don't know what you did last time. You don't know what exact number to surpass. You don't know. Yeah, you're basically blind when it comes to you can't make progress. And as I said, you probably track some of your lifts, like your bench or your squat or your deadlift, but you need to do it in most lifts. Yeah, so that's what I did, and that's what I would suggest to pretty much everyone, because that's the only way to know that you're getting stronger and to keep going. Okay, because the numbers on the notepad or the notes app that you will have them, the numbers will change faster than your body, and that will give you motivation to keep going. So yeah, that's one thing. Moving on to the second one is not bulking or cutting. As a beginner, unless you have an athletic background, you probably have a pretty not good physique. Let's just say not good, and you need to be clear with yourself. And that's what my framework says here. If shadow isn't fat, then bulk. Otherwise, you should cut weight. If you're fat, cut weight. If you're skinny, bulk. Because if you're skinny or skinny fat, like if you're wondering whether you need to bulk or cut, you probably should bulk. And don't get me wrong, even when cutting weight, if you get enough protein and if you train hard enough, you will build muscle. So the mass that will be removed from your body will not be muscle, obviously. It will be fat. Okay? So don't worry about that, and preferably don't dirty bulk. This was my mistake, because I didn't track calories, which is something else that you might need to consider. Plus, it's easier when you track calories. When you track calories and you eat almost the same foods every day, it's a lot easier, because you can add calories and add foods and meals much more easily, because you know that these meals equal these calories and I just have to add more of this or more of this. So yeah, don't dirty bulk, it's not really worth it. Okay, as a beginner you might be able to get away with it, but think about it, it's one more thing that you can do right, you have the opportunity to do on point. So the third one is not exploiting your form to your advantage. Now what I mean by that, I don't mean to have perfect form, to not get injured. Obviously that you know it. You know that you shouldn't ego lift and you shouldn't get injured. Okay, what I mean by that is for bigger muscles and for hypertrophy, you need to achieve failure. I saw a video the other day from someone, I think his name was probably Marcus Jason Brown, something like that. Look him up, he's young and he's promising, he's very fucking jacked. So yeah, he was basically explaining the stages of failure, of taking yourself to failure. Now, you need to go to failure as a beginner, because otherwise just won't be able to make gains. And like you see some motherfuckers like doing their curls like this, and you see them, and I don't want to sound bad, but it's mostly old people most of the time, and they just not even actually it's young people as well, but it's like they're afraid of it. Like you see them train and you know for a fact that if nothing changes, their physique will remain the same for the next 6 months, and you kind of feel bad for them. I don't know, maybe it's just me. So yeah, now the stages to failure is first one, not being able to do the positive part of the rep, meaning you can't push any more weight. The second stage is not being able to control the negative part of the rep, meaning that you have a spotter helping you push the weight up, but you can't even control it when it goes down, meaning that it just collapses on you after this point. And you can't even do partial reps, like half reps with it. Okay, so you can do anything. Is that how you say it? Like, you just can't move the weight at all. And the last one is static holds at the end when the muscle is most stretched. Bro, I sound like Jeff Nippard. The most stretched position. Nah, just kidding. We love this guy. So, but it hasn't really offered me that much, the static hold at the stretch position. Maybe if you do it between reps, I feel that pretty good in my muscles when I do it between the reps, and I hold it for a bit in the stretch position, but at the end, I don't know, it hasn't really helped me. And yeah, now these are all the stages to failure, and you realize that that's very hard, and that probably won't allow you to do more sets than 1 or 2. Honestly, like if you don't have time, especially, that's the best in my opinion. Like very high intensity, and you're out of the gym to go and rest. Especially if you don't have time. I think that's the most important one, to do stuff in a minimalistic approach, because not everyone has the time in the day to just live in the gym. So yeah, that's the minimalistic approach, I would say. So it's controlling the negative. That's with the first one. Controlling the weight. Think of, don't just the weight fucking collapse on you, bro. Like you skip the most hypertrophic part of the exercise. Okay, don't fool yourself. And the last one I would like to add is a bonus one, to not really go for 1 rep max. Like this, don't let it bother you just yet. Like unless you're in a friendly competitive mood with your friends and you're like, if I lift more weight than you, have a bigger dick than you, again, then maybe do that, but just understand that it's not for hypertrophy. Let's recap. You can afford to do some things wrong. You can afford to mess some things up. As I said, unless you did unless you have a major injury, you can afford to mess some things up. You can afford to not have perfect form or to have a diet not so on point. But just know that as you go on, you will be limited to when it comes to these things as well. You are not going to be able to do them in the future. So yeah, track your lifts, keep notes, keep whatever the note up and on your phone, and then while doing that, bulk or cut, set a clear goal that you would follow for at least 3 months. Okay, and yeah. And third one is exploit the form to your advantage. Exploit the negative part of the rep, because that's the part that will give you a big growth, and you will need it later. Okay, like you can't afford to be 2+ years at the gym and still bouncing the weight on your chest. Like you might get injured, because as you go on, you obviously load more weight, and having trouble with your form while increasing the weight by a lot, not the best idea. And last but not least, you don't need to go for 1 rep maxes, especially if you haven't fixed the previous part, which is the form, since you might get injured. So yeah, that was it for the video. You can find my Instagram in the description and hop on a 10 to 15 minute call with me. Bombard me with questions and with whatever you want to see next. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video.